Right. So I'm here to talk to you about a smart routing solution between legacy and modern Drupal sites built in Cloudflare. My name is Titi. I work at Zucha as a DevOps architect, and I've been with Zucha in the Drupal, working with Drupal for more than 13 years now, and you can find me at all these different places. I thought I'll first talk about what this session is about and give a big picture idea on the different hosting platforms involved in the project and how the routing came into place. The session will focus on showing how we built a smart routing solution in Cloudflare for one of our clients a few years ago, using several Cloudflare services such as workers, KV lists, and origin rules. And the aim was to keep hundreds of sites and other applications live under one www subdomain. One of the final parts of the solution is unfortunately only available to the enterprise Cloudflare plans, so I will offer some alternative solutions for the lower plans, and also some alternative solution if somebody's not using Cloudflare altogether. Several years ago, University College of London, UCL, became one of our clients, and we were tasked with migrating the Drupal 7 sites from the on-premise hosting box to the cloud. All the sites hosted on-prem were using one domain, so the www subdomain, and they were all running on the client's on-premise server hosting platform. And this is the key part of the routing puzzle. When they came to us, all the Drupal sites were hosted as a multi-site setup, so all running under the same subdomain but different subpaths, and were sharing the on-prem box with other non-Drupal applications. So some of them were PHP but not Drupal, some of them Node or HTML and so on. And similarly, one subdomain and different paths. So when creating the new cloud platform and separating the Drupal 7 sites, we knew that we had to try and keep the same domain but route the traffic to two completely separate hosting platforms now. What made it more complicated in the recent years is that the Drupal 10 platform was built, which meant that now traffic was split into three different backends rather than just two. Keeping it still on the same subdomain but different platforms. I thought I'd give a more visual way of the splits between the different systems and how we transition between the different hosting platforms. So we can see in the first box, as I said, there was just one on-prem hosting platform hosting both the Drupal 7 multi-sites, which is hundreds of them, and all of the other on-prem apps. At this stage is where we joined them, and one of the first tasks was to migrate the DNS management to Cloudflare, and then it made all of the rest of the steps possible to set up. Then the cloud platform was built, and the Drupal 7 sites were migrated slowly, bit by bit, over from the on-prem to the cloud. And this is where the first sort of piece of the routing came into place, where we started using the Cloudflare workers and the KV lists, which is a service part of the workers. Finally, we finished migrating all of the Drupal 7 sites, and everything was on the cloud, and there was still the on-prem sites left, so the Cloudflare workers were fully operational at this point. And then, as I mentioned, the Drupal 10 platform started to be built, so splitting into three different platforms, and at this point we could have altered the workers code to try and split from D7 to D10 as well, but we thought we'll give origin rules a go because it was a newer product. It's just come out in the recent years, and we tried it and realized that it's possible to do everything that we were doing in workers, but with origin rules. Next, I'll dive into each one of the services and how we used it in greater detail. I thought I'll first explain what everything is. So workers, for people who might not use them, workers are a serverless computing platform that lets developers deploy and run code directly at the edge. This means that when a user makes a request to your website, Cloudflare will run that code as close as possible to that user, reducing latency and improving performance. KV lists are a feature of Workers service that allow you to store basically key value pairs under a single list name that can be retrieved afterwards from the workers. And origin rules are configuration rules that let you control how Cloudflare connects to your origin server. And the most important feature that we used was the ability to override the resolved host name, so the DNS record of incoming requests, to be able to go to different backends. At the beginning, we knew that we needed KV list functionality in Cloudflare to hold a list of the different paths that needed to be routed to the different places. And because we knew exactly what the Drupal 7 multi-site paths were, there was a clear finite number of them, we decided to default the DNS record to the on-prem hosting and then hold a record of the Drupal 7 paths in the KV list, and then let the worker code logic decide if a request should go to the default on-prem DNS record or to the V7 cloud platform. Basically, the whole logic boils down to simple pseudocode, if we were to use that, where the request comes in, check if the path is in the Drupal 7 KV list. If it is, then we swap the backend to the AWS load balancer and forward the request and fetch it from that backend. And if it doesn't, then it goes to the defaults to the DNS to the on-prem server. This is some code, some snippets of code from the Cloudflare workers. So we can see the main function that handles the request, checks what type of route it could be. If it doesn't match any of the routes, then it handles the on-premise request. I've left some code in there to show that there's more that can be done with the workers. So we also had another piece of requirement to rewrite some of the routes. So that there's many more things that can be done with workers rather than just this sort of replacing of the backend. This is an example of how the different KV lists are pulled to the worker. So there's just some wrapper functions of getting the Drupal routes, getting all of the routes, and then that just uses the Cloudflare API to pull the list, the different KV list by name, and it sorts it out. And finally, we can see this is sort of the brain of the request, handling the Drupal request, which creates a new request object, gets the URL, swaps the host name to the D7 subdomain, and then it fetches that request and serves it directly to the user. And if it's an on-prem request, then you can see it simply fetches the request, which means it defaults to whatever the DNS record says it should go to. A bit on the origin rules. As I said, in the recent years we started building the Drupal 10 multi-sites and migrating the Drupal 7 over to D10. And then I said before, there are a few options that we could have done. So we could have adjusted the workers code and add a new D10 KV list and check if it's D10. If it's a D10 path in that KV list, then go to the D10 platform. Otherwise, just do what we were doing before. So go to D7 or go to the on-prem. But that meant overcomplicated the code even more. Code that needed to be maintained, updated, and we knew that one day the whole Drupal 7 routing piece would become obsolete because there won't be any more Drupal 7 sites to be served once they were all migrated over to to D10. So we started exploring the origin rules, and this wasn't an option when we first started building the workers code, because that was quite a lot of years ago. Origin rules came out of beta testing and became a fully fledged product. And it meant that it simplified the setup. There was no more code to maintain. Everything was done directly through the Cloudflare service. So yeah, just reduced that code. And we knew that once we got rid of the D7 routing, then there won't be any more code at all to maintain. In the first screenshot, we can see a simplified version of the origin rule where a request comes in, it checks against a series of conditions. If it matches one of the Drupal 10 paths, then further down the page, basically you have different actions that you can take based on that condition. And the main one that we used was changing the DNS record to the D10 subdomain, which meant it would completely change the on-prem DNS record and pull from a different platform. As I mentioned, that particular, so from those options, the DNS record and a few others are only available to the enterprise plan. So I'll provide some alternatives to that. So it's only available to the enterprise plan. There's some other options that might be on the lower plans, but not the one that we needed to use. So the alternative would be, as I said, to just update the workers code, create a separate KV list for the D10 paths. So have the D10 KV list and a D7 one, and then update the worker code to check what path it would match. And this is an updated pseudocode basically where we still check for the D7 while they're still there. And then if it doesn't match, check for the D10 path if it contains it, and then swap the load balancer to swap the backend to the D10 platform. Otherwise, just carry on defaulting the DNS to the on-prem server. And if no Cloudflare is used at all, there are other CDNs that offer this type of proxying service, overriding the DNS at the edge. I've not got direct experience with all of them, but AWS CloudFront, for example, offers Lambda at edge. Akamai offers edge workers, and there's many others that offer similar products. And if no CDN is used at all, then you still got plain old Nginx or Apache to proxy the request to the backend based on whatever path you get. Thank you. Hopefully that was useful. Any questions? Yep.
Do you update the origin rules? Yeah, thank you. I had a similar issue, so I'm curious how you update the KV values or also the origin rules. You do that manually or you do that through an API? And also, did you kind of have a deployment of everything to automate it, or is it manual?
Yeah, so obviously once you have all of the sites there, then that's it. You have we did have hundreds of sites, but with UCL they also had the requirement of adding new sites or updating them or deleting them, depending on their own department's needs. And yes, we do use the API, the Cloudflare API, to add or remove or edit the KV paths, the paths that are stored in KV. We actually ended up building a whole dashboard in Drupal, a separate Drupal site for them that makes it easy to basically literally just create a new site, a bunch of form fields that says what's the name of the site, what's the path, what profile it might use, and then that does the job of ping Cloudflare, add the path to the KV, add it to the deployment so that the new site can be deployed on the D7 platform. So yes, but you can simplify. You can just do it manually. Obviously, it depends on the client requirement. If it changes once every year, then there's no point in building something for it.
Oh, sorry, you need to use the mic. Just getting your steps in, everyone.
So this is more about from the Cloudflare worker perspective.
Yeah.
So I have been like since maybe last 6 months back, I started using the worker, Cloudflare worker, and I was more interested in writing more things there. But eventually, I got to a thought like, does it care about the performance? Like, if I write some complex code there, is there a way to know if how it will impact the performance of the website?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is JavaScript or TypeScript code that runs at the edge. So if it's not performant, then it will have an impact on getting the request back to the user. I was actually checking the overview and the metrics the other day. I haven't gone to that page quite a while, and I saw that it's changed a lot, and they give a lot more information now. So you can get information on how slow the request is in the worker, how slow it is to get the origin request, if it needs to go to the origin or to something else. So yeah, you do get quite a lot of information, a lot of debugging as well. So you can output logs from workers and even in real time. So you can literally just do console.log, anything and see what happens. But yeah, they do provide now more performance insights.
Why I ask this question is we are thinking about like a domain called as an abc.com, and we have like a country sites, different country, like maybe
yeah, it's good for geolocation, for example. Yeah.
So currently we have a subdomain called as austria.abc.com.
Yeah.
But while for the end user I want to have a URL saying abc.com/Austria.
Yeah.
So in that case I was using workers.
Yeah, so exactly, you can use workers for that to sort of fake the request, proxy the request. I believe the origin rules, you can do that as well technically. And we actually do it for a client that has a sort of vanity domain that then goes to another domain that gets from a certain path, a form, for example, a web form. So they just wanted a nicer domain in front of it. So yes, you can proxy that sort of request and sort of fake it, so you get the response from a different basically origin, so from your at whatever the domain is. So it's possible. Yeah,
thank you.
You can do a lot of stuff with workers.
Thank you.
Maybe just a question, do you have any experience with Fastly on that?
Yeah, so when I as I said, I don't have direct experience with any of the others. I have some with a little bit with Lambda at Edge and CloudFront. When I was going through the documentation, I know Fastly also provide a similar sort of code at Edge, but I didn't include it in there. But yes, they do. Okay. They do offer a similar product. Yeah.
Right. Any more questions? I think you're done.
Nice.